Right. I forgot, she exclaimed, rummaging through her small bag. What she pulled out was a white envelope. What's this? It's a letter I'm holding for Grandma. She said to read it secretly, away from Michael. She replied. I took the letter from Lily. Just then, my sister arrived to pick her up, so I handed Lily over to her. After seeing Lily off, I quietly opened the letter. I casually read it, only to be shocked. What? No way! I couldn't believe what was written, something so hard to accept. In a panic, I hurried back to Michael. As soon as I returned, Michael spoke in a whiny voice. Hey, Emily, I'm thirsty. Wake me up and give me some juice or something. Ignoring Michael's request, I quickly flipped the blanket and reached for his pants. What? Emily? Without hesitation, I pulled off his pants. What are you doing all of a sudden? He shouted, scrambling to pull his pants back up. Faced with the reality unfolding before me, I sighed. Looks like Mom's guess was right. Hey! Why are you undressing me all of a sudden? Just because I can't move, you think you can treat me this way? Michael looked up at me, utterly bewildered. True, it was wrong to undress him without saying anything. But it was the only way to confirm my suspicion. My name is Emily Smith, 32 years old. I joined this company after graduating from college and have been here for 10 years. With this tenure, I have a stable income and am trusted with various tasks at work. I've been living a very fulfilling life, but there was one thing bothering me. My husband, Michael, whom I've been married to for 5 years. I met Michael at a friend's wedding. We just happened to be at the same table. Wow, weddings are wonderful, aren't they? Truly, they both look so happy. We only talked a few times, but I was impressed by how genuinely happy Michael seemed for the bride and groom. Later, through a friend, Michael approached me, and our relationship quickly progressed. I want to marry you. He proposed directly, and we got married. The surprising part came later. What, you're divorced? And you have kids? Yeah, and, my ex-wife is demanding child support. Despite being divorced, his ability to celebrate others' weddings was impressive in a way. Child support, right? You should just pay it. It's part of being a father. But, see, I don't have any money left this month. What? I had a feeling Michael's income wasn't great. But I never thought I'd end up paying child support for a child I didn't know with my salary. I rushed into marriage. I don't regret marrying him. But, honestly, it was a rushed decision. What's more problematic is that Michael himself is careless with money and doesn't see this as an issue. I quit my job. Michael would report this to me several times, always with a carefree attitude. You quit. What are we going to do now? Don't worry. You're working, right? It'll all work out. He's the definition of relying on others. I wish he wouldn't depend on other people's money. Was this marriage just for money? I couldn't help but think that sometimes. But apart from the money issue, Michael wasn't a bad husband. He was a bit unconventional, but that was exciting and fun. I feel like something sweet. Wanna go to the convenience store with me? Now? Yeah. Suddenly, on a weekday night, we would head to the convenience store just for sweets. Yeah. I'm not sleeping until I clear this game tonight. Okay. Sometimes, he would keep me up all night playing games on weekends. It was honestly tough at my age, but I didn't dislike his enthusiasm. That's why I couldn't leave Michael, despite his lack of money and job stability. He might be irresponsible with money, but at least he wasn't cheating. That's what I thought as we kept dragging on. But then, just the other day, I saw it. A young woman I didn't recognize was sitting in the passenger seat of Michael's car. I, who prided myself on him not cheating, felt like I had been hit in the back of the head. I was completely off guard, and now there was suspicion of Michael cheating. In such a situation, I wondered if I should confront him or investigate secretly. After much thought, I consulted my sister. My sister, a married woman with an 8-year-old daughter, answered without hesitation. Obviously, you need to gather evidence secretly. There's no point in alerting the other party without sufficient proof, she said firmly. Following my sister's advice, I started focusing on gathering evidence from that day. As a result, it became clear that Michael was frequently meeting a certain woman. The woman was Vanessa Collins. Michael's personal doctor's daughter at Collins Clinic, a private medical practice. They mostly went on drive dates on Thursday afternoons in Michael's car. Then, they would enter a hotel, and I managed to capture this as evidence several times. I thought he was sincere when it came to relationships with women. Disappointment came before anger. Married life wasn't bad, but it wasn't easy either. On top of paying child support, it later turned out he had debts. Both from before our marriage. Meaning, they were originally none of my business. Or at least something I should have known before marriage. Hiding them, Michael married me. I sometimes thought it was almost like being deceived. But the one thing I was proud of was that he wasn't unfaithful. I never imagined he would betray me even in that. I'll confront him with everything and end it. Knowing Michael's carefree nature. He probably had no idea I knew. I'd give him a surprise for once. So, I was figuring out the right time to tell him. But soon after, I received a shocking call from Michael. Sorry, I had an accident. I might not be able to move my body anymore. I left work and rushed to the hospital he mentioned. It was Collins Clinic. Feeling apprehensive, I also contacted my mom to come with me. Are you his wife? Please come this way. I never imagined meeting her under these circumstances. The one guiding me at the reception was Vanessa, Michael's affair partner. I had seen her face from behind or in profile several times over the past few months, but it felt strange to see her face to face like this. Guided to the room, Michael was lying in the hospital bed. Michael! Emily. You came. His voice and expression seemed lively. My mother seemed to think the same, and we exchanged relieved glances. I was shocked when I got the call, but thankfully, his injuries were lighter than I thought. I was relieved. But then, the doctor's next words left me speechless. Mr. Smith is likely to be paralyzed on one side of his body. Paralyzed on one side? Yes, in Mr. Smith's case, it means the right half of his body can't move. Is there no chance of recovery? The doctor closed his eyes in thought and then firmly said, it's difficult. Next thing I knew, I was crying uncontrollably, supported by my mother. Once I calmed down a bit, Michael timidly started to speak. This hospital, due to its facilities, can't admit me for a long stay, so I have to go home. What? But what about thorough examinations? Your right side is still not moving. There could be other causes, right? Yeah. Well, there's also the exhaustion from the accident today. We'll see another time. His hesitant words worried me, but I didn't want to push him. Reluctantly, I, with my mother's help, brought Michael back to our apartment. After laying Michael in bed, I went out to the entrance to see my mother off. Sorry for the sudden trouble today. Thank you. It's all right. But now, there's no chance to talk about the affair. Indeed. What will you do now? If Michael really is paralyzed, I can't just abandon him because he cheated. I need to think about it. Remember, you are the most important to me. She meant not to sacrifice myself for Michael's sake. Thanks. My mother seemed to have more to say, but left with a complicated look on her face. The next day, my life as Michael's caregiver began. Though he was paralyzed on one side, the other side was still functional, so the need for care was less than I expected. Soon, taking care of Michael's mental health, being unable to go outside, became the bigger challenge. Anyway, I'm just so bored. Surprisingly, Michael complained less about his inability to move and more about feeling idle. He kept summoning me for trivial things. Wanting juice, needing an itch scratched on his back. These small tasks wouldn't be a problem, but his constant demands were wearing me down. That's when my niece Lily, whom I'm very close to, suddenly decided to visit. Lily and Michael hardly knew each other. At first, I wondered why she insisted on visiting. When I asked my sister, she replied casually. That's because everyone's worried about you, obviously. Even 8-year-old Lily is concerned about you. That's so sweet of Lily. I wish I could come along too, but I'm swamped with work and can barely manage the drop-off and pick-up. Mom seems busy too. Well, at least with Lily there, Michael won't be able to act selfishly in front of a child. My sister was right. With Lily there, whether it was male pride or just embarrassment, Michael called me less frequently. Thanks to that, Lily and I could chat about school life and the latest trends among elementary schoolers, all sorts of girl talk. But why do fun times always fly by so quickly? As the evening approached, it was time for Lily to leave. My sister called to pick her up, and though I was reluctant, it was time to say goodbye. All right, Lily, your mom will be here soon. Let's wait outside. Okay. As we headed to the door, Lily suddenly remembered something. Oh, I almost forgot. She rummaged through her small bag and pulled out a white envelope. What's this? I was asked to keep this letter from Grandma. She said to read it away from Michael. From Mom? Thanks. I took the letter from Lily. As my sister arrived to pick her up, I handed Lily over to her. After seeing Lily off, I quietly opened the letter. It wasn't mailed but given to Lily to pass to me, quite meticulous. I wondered what it could be. Glancing through it, I was stunned. What? No way! The contents were unbelievable. But my mother wouldn't lie about something like this. If this is true, I need to confirm it. I hurried back to Michael. As soon as I returned, Michael spoke in a whiny voice. Is Lily gone? Yes, she just left with her mom. Ah. Hey Emily, I'm thirsty. Could you get me up and get me some juice or something? Ignoring his request, I quickly flipped back the blanket and reached for his pants. Emily? Without hesitation, I took off Michael's pants, leaving him bewildered. What are you doing all of a sudden? Michael shouted, quickly pulling his pants up. Faced with the reality before me, I sighed. Mom's prediction was right. Hey! Suddenly taking off someone's pants, what are you trying to do? Taking advantage of me because I can't move, isn't that terrible? Michael looked up at me, bewildered. Indeed, it was wrong to undress him without saying anything. But I had to confirm something. Hey! Are you listening? As I remained silent, looking down, Michael raised his voice again. Seriously. This makes me so anxious about the future. Maybe it's better if we break up? I interrupted him with what he was about to say, and Michael looked at me, surprised. Oh, you seem quite happy? Your mouth is all relaxed. Michael covered his mouth, looking panicked. No, I'm not happy. But maybe you're right. With my condition, I'd just be a burden. Maybe it's better if we split up. Michael sighed deeply, looking despondent. I don't mind, you know. I'll take care of you. Didn't we vow at our wedding? In sickness and in health. No, but... Besides, it's not all sad. At least we can still talk like before. And now, I don't have to worry about your affairs anymore. I smirked mischievously. Me, having an affair? He was obviously dodging eye contact, yet denying it. Don't worry. Even if you were unfaithful before, you can't move on your own now. You can't cheat anymore. Now you belong only to me. Michael let out a small yelp and turned pale. Emily, actually, I was planning to leave you. It's okay. Leave it to me from now on. But I feel so guilty towards you. Don't feel guilty. We're a married couple. I just smiled back, but for some reason, Michael looked like a deer caught in headlights, trembling. But why don't you rest for now? I'll go prepare dinner. Michael couldn't say anything more. I left the room as it was. This should have cornered Michael. He's bound to take some action now. Until now, I truly believed Michael was paralyzed. He couldn't move, and there was a diagnosis from Dr. Collins. I wanted to get it checked at a bigger hospital, but Michael himself was against it. Now I understand why Michael was so reluctant about the hospital and treatment. As soon as I left the room, I carefully listened through the slightly ajar door. Left open just enough so Michael wouldn't notice. This way, I couldn't see inside, but I could hear everything Michael was doing. Help me! I'm in trouble! Soon, I heard him talking to someone. He must be on the phone. He was speaking softly, maybe wary of me. That's why I told you. I was warned before bringing up divorce. She's insisting we won't separate. What do I do? Escape? That's impossible. I'm too scared. She must know about you and me. She's been persistent about the affair. She must have found out. I heard it all. It was clear. Michael was on the phone with his mistress, Vanessa.
Please! Say it's a call from the hospital. Get me admitted somewhere else, anywhere. If not, I don't know what Emily will do to me.
As Michael pleaded with the person on the other line, I knocked on the door.
Michael? Are you on the phone? Can I come in? Oh, yes. Just a second, I'll hang up.
I waited a moment before entering. Michael looked even paler than before, lying on the bed. You look worse than earlier. Are you okay? Yeah. I'm fine. No, maybe I'm not feeling well. Can you take me to the hospital? Oh dear. That's serious. I'll call the hospital right away.
Thank you.
He looked genuinely relieved. He thought he was escaping from me, but he was mistaken. In fact, the real game was just beginning. At the hospital, I was going to expose everything about Michael and Vanessa. Upon our arrival, Vanessa greeted us immediately. Mr. Smith. Are you all right? Vanessa. Thanks. I'm not feeling well. After what happened, it's understandable. Vanessa looked at Michael with a meaningful smile and a gentle gaze. Can I rest here for a bit? I think I might need to be admitted. Making decisions like a doctor, even though he's not. But Vanessa nodded at Michael's words and led us to a private room.
Our clinic doesn't usually do admissions, but my father will come to check on you when he's free, so please wait here until then.
After about 30 minutes, Vanessa came back with a doctor in tow. I had seen this doctor before. He was Vanessa's father, the clinic's director. How are you feeling unwell? Yes. Michael replied, awkwardly avoiding eye contact. As Vanessa's father was about to use the stethoscope, I suddenly raised my hand.
Let's end this charade, shall we? What?
Michael, Vanessa, and Vanessa's father. Everyone in the room, except me, froze.
Emily, what are you saying all of a sudden?
Ignoring him, I again reached for his pants and pulled them down swiftly.
Hey! What are you doing?
Michael frantically pulled his pants back up.
You were worried I became paralyzed and useless as a man, right? I see. You were only after my body. I'm disappointed in you.
Michael dramatically feigned sadness. Seemingly oblivious to the expressions of Vanessa and her father, he continued his act.
I'm not as lively as you two. What do you mean?
Still haven't realized it, have you?
Realized what?
Vanessa hurriedly whispered something in his ear. And Michael's expression changed to one of shock and confusion.
No, I mean, why pretend to be paralyzed? You moved so quickly just now. The act's up, why not drop it?
Yes, the letter from my mother was just a few lines long.
I've looked into it, and there's a high chance that Michael's paralysis is just an act, maybe a lie to leave you. How about trying to pull down his pants to see his reaction?
Following her advice led to this moment. Panicked, Michael, who was supposed to be paralyzed, effortlessly used his right hand to pull up his pants himself.
It was all an act from the start, wasn't it? No, it's just that. Explain everything.
Sweating profusely, Michael complied. On the day of the accident, it was Vanessa who was riding in Michael's car. They were in the midst of their affair.
The injuries were minor for both of us, but the car was badly damaged. I thought, if I pretended to be seriously injured, it would cover up the affair from you.
I could only sigh at the ridiculousness of it all.
And yet, such a foolish lie. Did you really think you could keep it up forever? No, well... Or did you really want to cover up the affair that badly? It's not like that.
Before Michael could answer, Vanessa interrupted. Michael was just trying to leave you without hurting you. After all, if you found out he had an accident while driving with his affair partner, wouldn't that be humiliating? So, he even told a kind lie about being paralyzed, to part ways smoothly.
Kind? Where's the kindness in a married man fooling around with someone much younger than himself?
Stop saying that. We truly love each other. Vanessa said assertively, but Michael, behind her, looked like a deer caught in the headlights, now that his grand lie was exposed.
Is that so? Then you should have been upfront about it, not resorting to such schemes. Right, Mr. Collins?
Vanessa's father twitched nervously. His forehead glistening even more than Michael's.
Well. The moment I realized the paralysis was a lie, I had a lot I wanted to say to you. Me? Why's that?
Vanessa's father looked at me, his face tense. Perhaps he couldn't abandon his daughter. But as a doctor, he crossed a line he shouldn't have.
You were swayed by your daughter's tears, weren't you? How did you feel seeing me break down in tears? Don't you have any pride as a doctor? Wasn't it hollow to go as far as forging a medical report?
Vanessa's father seemed to gulp. He began to speak, carefully choosing his words.
It wasn't forgery, it was a diagnostic error.
How could a perfectly mobile man be misdiagnosed with paralysis? It seemed like they wanted to claim it was an oversight rather than a deliberate act of malpractice.
Well, for me, either way is fine. Fortunately, I have family in both the medical and legal fields, so I'll consult with them. Wait, you don't need to.
Vanessa's father's face paled. Understandably so. For a private practice, reputation and word of mouth are everything. The knowledge that he had dirtied his hands as a doctor for such a petty reason as his daughter's affair would surely ruin the clinic's reputation.
Please, have mercy. There's no mercy here. I'll discuss the details later through my lawyer. Since Michael seems to be in good health, you can return to your work.
He was clearly not in the state to work, but other patients were waiting. I could hear a nurse calling out. Despite his reluctance, Vanessa's father was eventually forced to leave the room. Left in the room were Michael, Vanessa, and me. The room fell silent as I pondered the events. On the day of the accident, Michael was having an affair with Vanessa. They chose her father's clinic because it was close to the accident site. It must have been Vanessa's idea to use this situation to make Michael hers. Whether Michael had considered divorcing me is unclear, but it's unlikely he'd have gone to such lengths just to cover up an affair. Vanessa likely persuaded him. The prospect of being with a doctor's daughter must have been appealing to Michael, always wanting to quit his job. Furthermore, claiming to be paralyzed would have served as an excuse for Michael to quit his job. He probably thought that by using this as a reason to break up with me before his affair was discovered, everything would neatly fall into place. However, this plan was doomed from the start. I had known about their affair even before Michael's accident. I had lost the opportunity to confront them in the confusion following the accident, but now, with their lies exposed, I had all the leverage. So, I began, turning my gaze slowly towards them. Michael sat on the bed, and Vanessa stood beside him.
Regarding our future, I've decided I want a divorce. What?
Surprised by my statement, both Michael and Vanessa exchanged glances, blinking in disbelief.
Agree to a divorce. Is that okay? It's not a matter of okay or not. I've known about your affair for a long time and have been preparing for this separation since then.
Michael looked conflicted, while Vanessa's eyes sparkled with excitement.
So, Michael and I can be together now. We won't have to sneak around anymore.
They had been quite brazen with their affair, but it seems they had been somewhat discreet. Yes.
Once we're divorced, what you two do is none of my business. You're free to do as you please. However, there are conditions for the divorce.
Conditions? Vanessa furrowed her brow, puzzled. Yes.
Don't worry, it's nothing major. First, I'll be seeking alimony from both Michael and Vanessa. Additionally, there'll be no division of assets. I'll take all the savings. That's all. Isn't that a bit unfair to me? Have you forgotten that I've been the one paying most of our living expenses for the past 5 years? The savings hardly cover the financial burden I've shouldered.
Michael had always struggled to hold down a job due to his tendency to slack off. His income was unstable and significantly lower than his peers. Moreover, he was a big spender, so he hadn't even finished paying off his pre-marriage debts.
Sure, Emily helped me out, but I worked hard too.
Michael seemed dissatisfied with the idea of handing over all the savings. He mumbled and stumbled over his words, clearly uncomfortable with the arrangement. As I was considering discussing this later to avoid prolonging the conversation, Vanessa unexpectedly came to my rescue.
Michael, we've come this far, haven't we? Don't worry about the money. My father is here, and if you leave it to me, everything will be fine. I want us to be able to love each other openly and proudly as soon as possible.
Vanessa.
Love is all we need.
It was astonishing how they could show such a demeanor in front of me, still technically Michael's wife. And what did Vanessa see in Michael, anyway? Although many questions lingered, Vanessa's intervention helped conclude the matter.
All right, I'll leave the divorce papers and alimony details to my lawyer. I'll send your belongings to Vanessa's place. I don't expect we'll need to see each other again.
Okay, then. Goodbye.
Take care.
Michael and Vanessa seemed to already consider themselves a couple, sitting closely together. I remembered something important and spoke up.
Right. Don't forget to make the child support payments, okay? And try to at least pay off the interest on your debts.
Vanessa abruptly looked up at Michael.
Child support? Debt? What's all this about?
Oh, didn't you know?
This man has a child with his ex-wife. And don't get it wrong, I didn't steal him from her. He was already divorced when we met.
Vanessa, slightly irritated, asked, Debt? What debt?
It was there before our marriage. So, I don't know what it's for.
How much is it?
About $60,000, I think.
I smiled as I informed her, and Vanessa's face turned ashen, visibly trembling. It was understandable. The thought of paying alimony to me, on top of child support and existing debts, must have been overwhelming, enough to make anyone feel dizzy.
Well, but we can work together to pay it off, right?
Vanessa clenched her fist and turned to face Michael. Michael vaguely nodded.
Lucky you, Michael. To be with such a positive person like Vanessa. This should motivate you for job hunting. Job hunting?
Vanessa's eyes were vacant.
Yes. Michael hastily resigned from his job because of this whole situation. He's now unemployed. Without any qualifications, a full-time job might be hard, but love is all you need, right? Good luck.
Vanessa muttered under her breath, but there's a limit. Shocked, Vanessa and Michael looked lost. As I waved goodbye and left the hospital. After that, the divorce was finalized without issue. Regarding the alimony that I was slightly worried about, Vanessa's father ended up paying the entire amount for both of them. He probably did this out of fear that I might disclose everything that happened. Considering the potential damage to his reputation, it was a small price to pay. Now, nothing was stopping Michael and Vanessa. However, they didn't remarry right away. Michael was eager to marry right away, saying as soon as possible, but Vanessa seemed hesitant, often responding with well, maybe. Moreover, their relationship seemed to be fraught with arguments, mainly because Michael remained unemployed and Vanessa was reluctant to officially register their marriage. Even if she once thought Michael was her soulmate, hesitance is understandable considering his lack of responsibility and initiative. In my case, by the time I realized, I had grown too attached. If not for that, I would have left him much sooner. Thankfully, I'm now enjoying peaceful days. At first, I thought I might feel lonely. Michael, despite his issues, was good at pampering and entertaining. But in his absence, I realized how much easier life was. No sudden demands for sweets or all-night gaming sessions. While some might find such a life fun, it was taxing for me in my 30s. Now, I can take care of myself and have more relaxed days. No more living on the edge for excitement. From now on, I want to live a life that's true to myself, without stretching myself too thin.